Hello, and welcome to The Gold Mine, where you can find new investment insights from your favorite financial writers every day.
I'm Barry Ritholtz, and this is Missing Corporate Leadership on Vaccines. I noted back in February that America's CEOs were having a good year, not just in their response to a deadly pandemic or to the logistical challenges of remote work or even feeding a nation stuck at home, but even their response to the January 6th attempted coup. The CEO crew congratulated the legitimate victor, dismissed nonsensical conspiracy theories, froze contribution to elected Capitol rioters, and generally behaved like responsible citizens facing a credible crisis of democracy. Of course, there was some backsliding. Toyota behaved so poorly, I had to cross them off of my list, never to be purchased or recommended again. But generally speaking, the corporate sector behaved very well. Vaccine hesitancy has been stoked by some bad actors, an unseemly mix of malicious, opportunistic, and plain old stupid that has presented another chance for the corporate sector to demonstrate leadership. The track record here, unfortunately, is a bit mixed. If for no other reason than self-interest, it's time for corporate America to step up its vax game, and fast. More than their new hires, companies need to get their customers, also known as the public, fully vaccinated. Otherwise, we're going to be living through an echo of 2020 with COVID acting as an ongoing and perhaps even long-term drag on the economy. This will affect revenue and earnings at all companies. So, as an exercise, let's name names. Consider 10 companies that are well situated to affect real social change relative to vaccines, but really, any company can show leadership. Here are 10 names I picked and what they can do to improve national vaccination rates. Our list includes companies that interact with the public on a regular basis, they're authoritative in their space, they're trusted, and above all, they have a bit of leverage that they can use. It goes without saying, they should require all of their employees to get vaccinated or else stay out of the office. Some jobs warrant firing for the unvaxxed, like healthcare workers, but let's save that discussion for another day. What can some of these companies do? Well, here are 10 suggestions. Start with McDonald's. They're already under inflationary price pressure with a clientele that tends to be both less well off and less vaccinated. An obvious solution beckons. McDonald's should use their inflation concerns and raise prices across the board 10%. But then they should offer a 15% discount for any customer that shows proof of vaccination. Other retail food establishments like Starbucks can do the same, but their upscale customers have a tendency to skew more towards the vaxxed group. Regardless, it's a win-win for everybody involved. What about Uber or Lyft? Hey, both ride-hailing services have gone public, which means that there's no more VC-subsidized rides, but the app is a great public interactive device, and it should show whether drivers are vaccinated or not. Customers can cancel a non-vax driver without cost. And you could do the same thing. Allow drivers to decide if they want to pick someone up who's not vaccinated. Both of these allow a safe way to get rides, and it sends a message to both drivers and customers. How about Walmart and Target? Listen, it's not really fair to turn our frontline retail workers into vax enforcers. Instead, companies can create an innovative program to reward the vaccinated. Proof of vax gets you additional bonus points or miles on the company's loyalty program. In fact, this can work for all loyalty programs, from credit cards to Lowe's, Home Depot. Any of them can do this. Live Nation and Ticketmaster. During the early days of the pandemic, they were suggesting that vaccines were going to be required to buy tickets and attend events, but they've kind of moved away from this. Listen, you guys running Live Nation, what are you going to do when concerts get canceled for another year? It's in your self-interest to take a leadership role here. So much so it's malpractice that you have yet to act. Use your monopoly power for good for a change. How about Airbnb? This is an easy one. Get vaxxed if you want to rent one of our homes, period. It's bare enough how disgusting and filthy and how boorish the behavior of Airbnb guests are. It's well known that people leave their disease-ridden aerosol virus in the air, and it could stay there for long periods of time. Here's another good use of an app that can provide information for consumers to let them make safer choices. How about Disney? The theme park giant is one of the few companies with just total ownership of their clients and audience. Hey, so far, more than 400 children have died of COVID. That's just not an acceptable number. It's so easy to position this as protecting the most vulnerable at their parks. Provide a free bonus movie or first-run download to Disney Plus subscribers who provide proof of vaccine and mandate vaccinations for everybody attending the park. American Express is a leader in corporate travel, and here's another opportunity to provide not just advice, but to use their network to exhort and generally suggest users how much safer it is to travel if they're fully vaxxed. Alternatively, JP Morgan Chase's Jamie Dimon can do it, continuing his streak of eating Amex's lunch at every opportunity. What about the airlines, in particular Delta? I flew Delta last week, and while the experience was good, it felt like a missed opportunity to require vaccines. The Airline Industry Council should discuss and get everybody on board, no pun intended. This should be an industry-wide issue. You're stuck in an aluminum tube for 4 hours, breathing the same damn air. Make vaccines mandatory to get on a plane. What about Apple? They have a huge footprint. They've long been a leader in social issues. Their stores are highly regarded and widely used. This tech giant can use their platform to hasten more vaccinations of their locked-in user base. Want to come to an Apple store? Got to show proof of vaccines. And it's the sort of thing that Apple and Google can agree to publicly. Maybe the entire FANG contingent can say, hey, we want you to be vaccinated, and here's what we're going to incentivize you with to become vaccinated, and here are the penalties if you don't get vaccinated. Finally, the U.S. Postal Service and FedEx and UPS, these are giant platforms that can be used to encourage vaccinations. They should require all their delivery people to be vaxxed, and they should put a patch on their uniform or a button, I'm vaxxed for your protection. It sends a strong message. This is obviously a short list. There are a ton of other companies and CEOs who can step up. Leadership requires people of goodwill to do the right thing for the greater good. By the way, I wrote this in early August, and since then, a number of new stories have come out that are really quite interesting. Just a quick update. I read a piece in The Hill on August 13th that basically said health insurers are pooled risk, and someone who chooses to engage in risky behavior should bear the costs of that. If you have chosen not to be vaccinated and you do not have a medical excuse, well, if you get COVID, your deductible shouldn't be $10. It should go up to $500 or $1,000. How's that for an incentive? You can't expect everybody else to take responsibility for your bad behavior. One of the things I read that I was very excited about, in my writing I mentioned Live Nation and Ticketmaster. Mike Rapino is president and CEO of the Live Nation Entertainment Group. He said, quote, vaccines are going to be your ticket back to shows, unquote. If you're going to buy a ticket on Live Nation or Ticketmaster, you're going to need to show proof of vaccination. August 16th, the NFL stepped up. The league put its foot down hard on resistance to getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Any team that has to cancel a game due to a spike amongst the unvaccinated, hey, guess what? You forfeit the game. It goes as a loss. And for the opposing team, it's a win. This would count against playoff seeding and other competitive drawbacks. And then generally, vaccine mandates sweep corporate America. While American governors have gone AWOL, companies are acting where the government is not and pushing workers to get the jab in order to get the job. This is really obvious stuff, right? We mandate measles and smallpox and a whole run of other vaccinations. There is no reason why corporate America and school districts do not mandate the COVID vaccine as soon as it's approved for children. We're about to hear that the Pfizer vaccine is no longer on emergency approval, so that should reduce some vaccine hesitancy. And lastly, according to my Bloomberg vaccine tracker, we are at 4.95 billion jabs. Nearly 5 billion shots have been given. If this wasn't safe, don't you think we would have known it by now? Hey, you vaccine hesitants, you're running out of excuses to get a jab. Do it for yourself, for your family, and for your vulnerable loved ones. For more from me, check out The Big Picture at ritholtz.com.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is brought to you by Ritholtz Wealth Management. Clients of Ritholtz Wealth Management may maintain positions in the securities mentioned on this podcast. If you're new to investing, check out liftoffinvest.com to get started with us today.